Right, chaps, chappies and chapettes, honourable members, all protocols observed. We're busy here doing a commissioning of a Luxpower inverter. This is a 10 kilowatt unit. These units don't have a means to drive an external contactor, and they don't have an internal contactor to create an earth neutral bond. So the only way to get this thing to get an earth neutral bond is to bond it permanently on the output of the neutral. This inverter is got NRS approval, says it over here. But as you know, in the 2024 regulations for NRS, basically saying you can't do permanent earth neutral bonds. You have to have a contactor or a relay or some electromechanical device, section 5.4. So what I've got to do here is a little experiment. I've now got a clamp meter on the phase conductor. It's a single phase unit, measuring about 3 amps flowing through it. I've turned the PV off, right? And at the moment, all the power is coming from the grid. So the battery has reached 15% state of charge, and the inverter is now basically switched off. There's no more power for the inverter to take power off. I've switched off the DC breaker there for the PV. So there's no PV coming in here. So now what we got here is 800 watts flowing through the system. You can see over here, there's 3 amps AC coming into the inverter. And if I take the clamp meter and I move it across, I got the same amount coming out of the inverter. So the inverter is basically a pass-through now, right? Now what I've got here is I've got my AC combiner box. So, you know, you've got all the stuff that gets told what to do. You've got this manual that's published by Heralds and Bravo Scan. So at the end of the document, you've got a means of connecting your AC combiner. So you've got your AC combiner here, and what they're doing here is you've got your permanent earth neutral bond, which says minimum 6 millimeters squared. Now, as we all know, this inverter is connected to the point of supply. It has a point of control, point of supply outside, where the earth conductor, it's a TNCS connection. So the earth conductor is brought in separate. So the pen conductor coming from the supply is split into separate earth conductor, neutral conductor, and brought into the installation here. This is then coming out from here. You've got the circuit breaker feeding the inverter, coming to the AC combiner box, and then from here going to the inverter, and then coming back from the inverter, the output, and you've got your 2 indicator lamps. What I've done here is just put this circuit breaker in here to act as a permanent neutral bond. So if I look at what's going on here, I've got the earth conductor, which is connected to the earth bar, and it's going through this circuit breaker, which is now in the closed position, to the neutral on the output of the inverter. So if I look here with this breaker in the on position, you can see that the current flowing through this earth wire is roughly half of what is flowing through this phase conductor. If I break this earth neutral bond here, turn this off, phase is still doing that, but you can see now that there's basically no current flowing through the earth conductor. Turn it back on, it's still here, roughly half of what the 3.6 amps that's flowing. If I go over here, this kettle is connected to the output of the inverter. Turn it on, you can see now there's 13 amps flowing. That's a 2 kilowatt kettle with water in. 13 amps flowing here. 6.5 amps, half of 13 flowing in the earth conductor. Now you've got this document that tells you must use a minimum of a 6 millimeter squared wire. I'm just going to turn this kettle off so you don't have a noise. And if I go back here, you can see that the current drops immediately back to half of what is on this one. Sorry, it's just gone off. Put it back onto AC. It's 3.65, 1.74. If I turn this off and I look here, it's gone off. It's gone back to DC. there's no current flowing in because I've disconnected the earth neutral bond on the output of the inverter. If I turn the kettle on here and I look here, 13 amps still flowing in there, 0 amps flowing in my earth conductor. If